Hello, it's Chris from Cricut. Welcome to Cricut 101. We're really glad you're here. Those of you who haven't joined us before, the concept is pretty simple. I introduce a show and then we go into some pre-recorded video that allows you to see how to make a beginner level project, or depending on the topic of the show, do an unboxing of one of our cutting machines. I'm just going to check my sound. It looks like it's good. And that's with my buddy Karen in the background. If you are interested in answering and getting a question answered, please join the live chat. Karen is super knowledgeable on all things Cricut, and she will have answers for you, particularly around our topic today, which is infusible ink. We'll be making a t-shirt today, and let me just tell you one story that happened to me about infusible ink when I started at Cricut about a year ago. And I started probably on day 2 or 3 making a bunch of iron-on t-shirts with an EasyPress, and I thought, this is awesome. I can't believe how easy it is. And for whatever reason, I stayed away from infusible ink, and it just seemed like this kind of undiscovered country or something like that. And if you're feeling like that, I want you to know, and you'll learn this in today's episode, that it's actually just a couple minor steps different than an iron-on, and the results are amazing. It really looks like something you could buy in a store because the ink is actually bonded into the fabric. So don't be afraid. Know that infusible ink is great for beginners, and let's jump into our Nope project. Okay, there is my final project. I'm just giving you kind of a peek, and you can see how professional and clean that looks. It's really amazing what infusible ink can do. And one of the things you need to know about infusible ink is you need a Cricut blank to work with this product. And you can see it's pictured there. It has a lot of polyester in it, so you need that specific fabric to make infusible ink work. So that's just a major tip for you. It doesn't work on cotton t-shirts. So I'm going to go into my design space here, and I'm going to search for Nope. And I'm searching for something we call a ready-to-make project. You can see that project there on the far right. And as Desi says, the best t-shirt for when you can't deal. I love that. And this is really your instructions. And I'm going to, pause that for 1 second because I want to make a point about the instructions in the ready-to-make project. So that gives you a difficulty level. It gives you the materials you'll need, and it also gives you links as well as step-by-step instructions. So doing a ready-to-make project like this Nope Infusible Ink t-shirt, in this case with my Cricut Joy, is a great place to start for beginners. We'll let that start again. And you can see here I'm changing the color on my project because I happen to have red infusible ink. And I'm going to click Make It. I'm going to click on a mat. And you've got to make sure to mirror your projects with infusible ink because that will make it come out correctly. I'm just following the blue or the green prompts at the bottom of the screen here. And again, one thing here I'm picking my material, which is infusible ink, transfer sheet in this case. Following the prompts, hitting done. And I'm just going to pause 1 minute because I think I just blew through a part that's very important. And that is, and you can rewind this, it will be archived on demand in the 101 playlist. But what I did, and you can rewind and see this, is I hit the Customize button on this project because I wanted to make the size of the t-shirt a little bit smaller. And what I did is instead of hitting Make It, I just hit Customize, and then I grabbed the icon at the bottom right of what we call the bounding box on the canvas and just kind of proportionally made that project a little bit smaller. That's the only change I made in addition to the color. So if you want to just just go through and do exactly the same size and exactly the same color. You just hit make it and go on a ready to make project. But customizing is a way to, again, great for beginners, just change it a little bit in case you're making a project for somebody smaller and you need to get the logo down, or in this case, I'm using a Cricut Joy, which cuts to a width of 4.5 inches. So I needed to adjust to account for that. All right, I'm going to keep going here. Try not to go too fast this time. Please weigh in questions if you have them. You can see the mat is loading, and we're going to show you what that looks like physically in a minute. I'm just giving you the kind of back-end view of Design Space. Again, click go, and here is me just setting up my mat. So I've got some Infusible ink. I've got a long Cricut Joy mat, and this mat does not come with Cricut Joy. It's extra. You do get a mat with Cricut Joy, but it's shorter and it's green. So this is a different mat. It's a little bit longer and good for a good long, I guess wide, in this case, logo that's going to go across my chest on this T-shirt. So the first thing I'll do is I'll take the protective cover off of my mat, and that keeps it sticky. And then I'm going to just unroll some Infusible ink here and use the mat to kind of measure how much I need. And back on the canvas, you noticed, I'm sure, that there's also a grid. So there's always a place to measure, whether you're in Design Space or using a mat. So you want to get in the habit of, understanding your size early in the project so you don't have to go back and you don't make any mistakes. I'm just going to roll that Infusible ink on there, color side up. And I'm going to press it into my Cricut Joy just with a little bit of pressure there. You see it grabbed it. And now it's going to cut out my note design. This is back to the Design Space view here. You get a gauge that shows you how much time it has passed while you're cutting. And I did speed this up just a little bit, but this is a quick project. Just really a few minutes to take care of this project. There's 100%, and I'm going to get a notification at the end that's going to tell me to unload the mat from my Cricut Joy. There it is. And here is the Cricut Joy in action. Again, I did speed this up just a tad, but you can see it's cutting very accurately. This was one of the things, again, when I started at Cricut, I could not believe how accurately this thing cuts. And it's really fun to watch if you're just getting started. Okay, we're going around the edges there. I'm going to take it out. And here I'm going to remove the Infusible ink transfer sheet from the mat. And you can see the way I do that. It's a little bit counterintuitive. As I'm peeling the mat, well, there's what it looks like. You can kind of see the cutout there a little bit in the camera. And what you want to do is peel the mat away from the Infusible ink so that you don't curl your material. So you can see I'm doing that very carefully and slowly, because the mats can be sticky, so you want to get that off slowly so you don't curl your material. I'm going to put the protective cover back on my mat because I like to keep them nice and sticky and dust free. Sometimes it takes a minute to get it aligned. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is called weeding this Infusible ink. And that's really just taking the material away that I don't want to press into my T-shirt and preparing for my heat press. So the way you weed Infusible ink is you can do it by hand, or you can use what's called a weeding tool, which kind of looks like a little dentist pick. I typically just start to kind of bend it like I'm doing here and start pulling it apart with my hands. It gives you this very satisfying crackling sound as you do this. And you'll be able to see as soon as the pieces start coming off how easily this comes off. So you can see the way this design works is the letters are actually going to be the color of the T-shirt coming through, and the red is going to be going around it, kind of like a reverse stencil. Okay, just taking out some of the small letters here. And again, you could just see me kind of bending the piece, and it pops it out. It's very easy to take apart with your hands. And some of these smaller letters, you could use a weeding tool. But mostly with Infusible Ink, I will start with my hands and see how much I can get off, and then jump in with this weeding tool here that kind of looks like a dentist pick. And that's a good tool when you're getting around a letter and have to leave like the kind of little piece inside the A there on your Infusible Ink. So you want to be very careful with that. It's a little bit of a delicate operation. And if you want to look back at your design canvas and kind of get a feel for what you're taking off and what you're leaving on, that's a good way to check, because it is easy to get confused as you're weeding and trying to understand and visualize what you really want on your shirt. You can see I'm getting around the edges there. Just taking my time, getting each piece out. And you can see why this is an easier beginner level project. There's really not a lot of intricate cuts here. It's fairly large. Even the small letters are fairly large. And now I'm going to get the pieces off around the border that are coming off. And again, look back at the canvas to understand exactly what comes off and what stays on. Just kind of stripping that piece. And I'm almost ready for my heat press here. Okay, that is exactly what it's going to look like when it goes on my shirt, color side down. Looks like I've got one last piece there in the corner. There we go. So now we're ready to press. Okay, I'm going to go to Google and just type in Cricut Heat Transfer Guide. This is another key source of instruction if you're doing heat transfer, either with our iron-on products or Infusible Ink. I'm going to choose what kind of EasyPress. I have an EasyPress 2, so I'm going to choose that. Then I'm going to choose my heat transfer material, which in this case is Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. And I'm going to select my base material. And that, in this case, is going to be a Cricut T-shirt blank. So you can see under Cricut blanks, I'm going to select T-shirt. And then when I hit apply, it's going to give me a bunch of instruction, including the preheat, how long I do the main heat, and what we call the stack, which is how we put butcher paper into the middle of the T-shirt and between the EasyPress and the Infusible Ink. So there is a little bit of an order there. Don't be intimidated. It's actually not that hard. And you can always go back to the heat transfer guide to get those visual cues in the stacking order or read the step-by-step instruction. So I'm going to unwrap my individually wrapped Cricut blank here. Just take that out of the package. And again, you want to use Cricut blanks for Infusible Ink. They're specially made to bond with the ink in Infusible Ink. I have used Infusible Ink on some polyester T-shirts that were not Cricut blanks before with success, but that's kind of the common denominators. You want polyester in the material. Okay, I'm just going to take that out, spread it out on my Cricut EasyPress mat. And now, again, going back to the stacking order, I'm going to put some butcher paper inside of my T-shirt to make sure that the press doesn't come through to the other side. And this is all in the heat transfer guide. So I'm going to place that in there. And typically I come down about 3 fingers from the collar on a T-shirt press. Some people like to measure. I usually just kind of eyeball it, but you can see the paper in there. And you place that right in the area that you're gonna do your press. I'm just gonna straighten out that shirt a little bit. Make sure that my paper is flat, and I'm gonna get a nice clean press. Now I'm going to lint roll a little bit. Make sure that we have a very clean surface. It just came out of the pack, so I'm sure it's fine, but that's a good best practice. And now you can see color side down. I'm just gonna start thinking about where this goes. There's my 3-finger trick at the top. And you wanna kind of center it. And now we're gonna go, again, following the heat heat transfer guide instruction, we're going to do our pre-press. And I've already heated up my Cricut EasyPress, I believe. We'll pan to that in a second. And again, if you're just getting into Cricut and you may be a little intimidated by the EasyPress, don't be. It's really incredibly simple. The heat guide makes it very easy. It's safe. It's got a really easy to use base where you can put it back. And here is my initial press, again following the guide. And you can see I'm just holding it in place for 15 seconds here. I'm not pressing down really hard, and just hold. The idea is to hold it firmly in one place and don't move it like an iron. Okay, I'm going to take that out. You can see I've got kind of a square there where I'm going to be able to press my Infusible Ink transfer sheet. There it is. Again, color side down. You can see why we did the mirror here, how it's going to come out. I'm just kind of centering it in that pre-press area. And it will stick. It's still a little warm, so it will stick to that. And then again, following the heat transfer guide, I'm going to put one sheet of butcher paper. And this comes with your Infusible Ink, the butcher paper, in case you're wondering. I'm going to put down my EasyPress for 40 seconds. Again, hold it in place. And one key thing you want to think about, going back to what I said about measurement, you want to make sure this EasyPress goes all the way around your design. Because if you miss a piece, it will miss it, and it won't press the entire design. So this is when you're starting to think about sizing. And when you put that EasyPress down over your Infusible Ink, make sure it goes over the entire design. Okay, you can see I'm almost done here. EasyPress counts down for you, and then it gives you a little beep at the end. I'm just going to set that EasyPress back on my stand. And this is really the fun part. The first time you do this, you're going to be amazed how good it looks. It's really cool. And I've made tons of t-shirts for my wife and my kids. This one was for me, because sometimes you just feel like, particularly if you have kids, that you just want to say, nope, not today. And those of you who've been through the holiday with kids know exactly what I'm talking about. And you want to do a warm peel with Infusible Ink, so you want to wait till it cools off just a little bit, because it is fairly hot. But then once it's warm enough to touch, you can just start to peel that back, which we're going to do for the reveal here in a second. Okay, isn't that cool? It's so clean and sharp. I love this t-shirt. I wear it all the time. So that's really like a 10-minute Infusible Ink project. Again, perfect for beginners. Do not be afraid of Infusible Ink. It's actually a great way to start your Cricut journey. So I'm going to pull this back here and come back and just check on the comments. Oh, it looks like there's a few folks here. Hello. Hello, Jen. Hello, Kaylin. Hello, Isabel. This is awesome. Brandon, how are you? Jen, Carol, Ava. Carol, Happy New Year, you guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much for joining. It looks like Karen is answering your questions. I'm just kind of looking to see if there's anything that wasn't answered here. You are in good hands with Karen. She does a lot of our help site content, which is another great place to look for help, as well as this official YouTube channel. And if you have time, please go through 101 if you are a beginner, because we are noticing that a lot of people are coming to our products with no prior crafting experience, which we love. And what Cricut 101 is intended to do is to give you access to those beginner level projects that will allow you to jump in and really learn by doing. And we're pointing out projects that are going to help you build proficiency and finish projects like this Nope Infusible Ink T-shirt successfully and gain confidence and skills that you can take to the next project. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to come back to Cricut 101 on actually New Year's Day at noon Mountain Time. If you want to look at that schedule, we're going through January 8th. And it is on our Cricut official blog. That's where we're keeping the schedule. But this content will be archived on demand on the Cricut 101 playlist on the official Cricut YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining, and Happy New Year!